All right, let's jump right into this explainer. We're going to be looking at an invisible war, one that's literally happening right under our noses every single time we tap our phones to send money. I mean, we all love how easy it is to split a dinner bill or pay rent in just a fraction of a second, right? But behind that really smooth, seamless screen, it's a massive, highly sophisticated battlefield. Today, we're breaking down the AI arms race in instant payments, and specifically how the financial system is fighting back against lightning-fast fraud. To really wrap your head around the stakes here, picture this. A victim gets tricked by a terrifyingly convincing fake bank customer service call into transferring $280,000. Now it only takes them, say, 15 minutes to realize they've been scammed and frantically dialed the police. But in the world of instant payments, 15 minutes is an absolute eternity. By the time the cops even pick up the phone, that money has been chopped up, bounced through a dozen accounts, and is completely gone across borders. It's just too fast to save. And, this isn't just some rare, isolated nightmare scenario. To put the scale into perspective, in 2025 alone, Hong Kong recorded over 43,000 scam cases. The financial damage from that? A mind-boggling $8.1 billion. It's absolutely wild. The sheer speed of our modern financial networks has basically handed scammers a weapon with an unprecedented level of destructive power.
So let's look at part one, the double-edged sword of instant transfers.
It really all comes down to what's called the speed paradox. You see, instant payments themselves aren't actually the root cause of the fraud, but they dramatically amplify the damage of a scam. When a transaction settles in just a few seconds, yeah, it's the ultimate convenience for you and me. But at the exact same time, it compresses the golden window for banks to actually intercept stolen funds down to basically zero. The bad guys can move the cash out before the victim even knows they've been duped. And this forces a complete rethinking of how banks operate. The old way, traditional defense, was human-led. It relied on static rules and looking at things after they happened. But when funds are moving at literal light speed, human investigators are just way too slow. So we're forced into the instant era. Banks literally have to hand the front line over to AI-driven systems that can intercept a transaction before it even finishes. Which brings us to part two, the scammers' invisible mule networks. Okay, so how do they actually vanish the money so incredibly fast? It's basically a four-step playbook using a mule network. Step one, the victim transfers the funds. Step two, that money immediately hits a primary mule account, but it definitely doesn't stay there. In step three, those funds are instantly shattered into much smaller pieces. And then finally, step four, the money gets scattered across this massive web of offshore ghost accounts. It's a highly automated, super coordinated process just meant to make the money trail as chaotic as possible, as fast as possible.
Now, to pull a highly coordinated attack like this off, scammers need burner accounts, lots of them. Many actually come from everyday folks who get lured in by fake part-time job scams, or people who just rent out their real bank accounts for some quick cash. But the more advanced crime syndicates, they're deploying something way, way more sophisticated.
Enter synthetic identity fraud, or SIF. Scammers aren't just trying to steal your whole identity anymore. Instead, they're taking fragments of real stolen data, like a real social security number, and stitching it together with entirely fake information. It creates these perfectly hidden ghost accounts. These Frankenstein identities can easily slip past a single bank's background check. And the crazy part? The scammers will open these accounts and just let them lay dormant for years, only waking them up when it's time to launch a massive, sudden attack.
All right, moving on to part three. AI and the super security guard. Now, the good guys are definitely not taking this line down. Regulators are aggressively pushing back. For instance, the Hong Kong Monetary Authority and local police have teamed up to form joint task forces. They've rolled out tools like the Scammeter, which literally flashes stark red alert warnings right on your phone screen before you even hit send. The whole strategy is shifting away from chasing the money after it's gone and instead building these protective walls right on the front lines.
And behind the scenes, banks are breaking out the heavy artillery. They're deploying massive frontline AI tools. You've got graph analytics mapping out hidden webs between accounts, entity resolution figuring out who is actually behind a screen, and behavior analysis scanning for out-of-character transaction patterns in real time. But there's a huge catch. We call it the blind spot. You see, traditional banks are essentially set up like isolated CCTV cameras. They can perfectly monitor their own lobby, meaning their own internal transactions, but they are completely blind to what the scammer is doing outside their doors at other banks.
A scammer looks like a totally normal customer to Bank A and a normal customer to Bank B, simply because neither bank is seen the full puzzle.
So, how do we fix that blind spot? Well, the tech world is introducing some really cool privacy-enhancing technologies, like federated learning and homomorphic encryption. Basically, think of it as creating a shared cross-bank super security guard. This tech lets multiple banks collaborate and learn from each other's fraud data to get the full picture of a scammer's network. And the best part? It does this without ever exposing any individual customer's private information.
The entire thing relies on this one really brilliant philosophy. Data doesn't move, models move. So instead of banks taking all your highly sensitive data and dumping it into one giant risky database, they keep your data locked up safely right where it is. Instead, they send the AI model around to the different banks to learn locally. It means institutions can finally team up to stop crime without ever handing your raw personal info over to a third party.
And we're actually seeing this evolution happen right now. Global initiatives led by groups like the Bank for International Settlements are moving us away from isolated, single-bank defenses. We've got Project Aurora, which is all about cross-institution anti-money laundering intelligence, and Project Hertha, which literally maps out illicit funds in real-time retail payment systems. The net is definitely tightening.
But, and this is a big but, it is a literal arms race. As banks get smarter and deploy all this advanced AI, the fraud syndicates are right there weaponizing generative AI. They're fighting back with hyper-realistic fake customer service calls, terrifyingly accurate voice clones of people's actual family members, and flawlessly forged documents. The attacks are just getting incredibly personalized and convincing.
Which leads us straight into part 4, the choice between safety and convenience.
Honestly, the hardest part of this whole AI banking revolution isn't even catching the bad guys. It's the balancing act. On one hand, you have fraud prevention, stopping scammers, saving life savings, doing the right thing. But on the other hand, you have transaction friction. Make the security too tight, and the AI is going to start falsely blocking totally legitimate, urgent payments for regular people. And the real-world cost of those false positives is genuinely severe. If an overzealous AI makes a mistake, it's not just some minor annoyance. We're talking about blocking someone's house down payment on closing day, or stalling an urgent medical bill when literally every second counts. It could freeze a whole company's payroll. It causes massive disruptions to everyday life.
To make it even more complicated, we have the explainability crisis. A lot of these advanced AI models are essentially black boxes. They process millions of data points to make a split-second decision, but they don't exactly show their math. So when a completely legitimate transaction gets rejected, banks really struggle to explain exactly why it was blocked, both to strict regulators and to, incredibly frustrated customers. Ultimately, what we're looking at here is a total paradigm shift in how we manage financial risk. In the era of instant payments, security doesn't depend on how fast the police can chase stolen money anymore. Actually, scratch that. If the money's gone, that race is already lost. Security now entirely depends on whether the system's AI can predict the scammer's next move and shut the transaction down before it even happens. It is an absolutely fascinating, high-stakes technological battle, and it's happening in the blink of an eye every time you use your phone to pay. So I'm going to leave you with this final thought. In a world where your money can move instantly, just how much friction are you willing to put up with in your daily life to make sure your life savings are actually safe? Where do you draw the line?